Welcome into the 59th edition of Cleveland Sports Realm 5-9. That's in honor of Guardians, well, actually more Indians, great pitcher Carlos Carrasco, number 59. And we are pleased to be joined by the usual suspects. Of course, Kevin here, and then Derek on the other side of the room. And we have a guest in studio tonight. Honestly, and I'm not just saying this because he's sitting like 5 feet from me, the guy knows more about college football as much as Pete Thamel or Joey Galloway or anybody you see on ESPN or Brady Quinn, anybody like that on Fox. It's Landon Gonser is our guest this evening. Landon, good to have you.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're happy to have you on, man, honestly. You know, Jerome and I we've been talking about having you on for this episode for a while now. I like piggybacking off what Jerome said. This is the best college mind that I've ever come across. I mean, this guy will talk to me about 16-year-old prospects in Tennessee that the Georgia Bulldogs might be going after. And Landon is a Georgia fan, so you're going to hear a different perspective, a non-Ohio State bias and a non-Notre Dame bias.
Well, you have nothing to be biased about.
No, I do.
I
do. We should be in.
You guys took your Pop-Tarts.
We should be in.
You didn't even take your Pop-Tarts.
No, we didn't want
just
the Pop-Tarts.
Declined the Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
No Pop-Tarts for you guys. All right, so we are going to go heavy into the college football, but briefly we are going to touch on the Browns.
Unfortunately.
So I didn't get to watch the game live, but in honor of trying to be a semi-good podcast host, I went back and watched the entire length of the game last night from start to finish, and I wish I wouldn't have, quite honestly. The only good thing was it didn't take me long because I got to blast through the commercials. So at least that saved some time off my life that I'll never get back. But anywho, the Browns went to Soldier Field, a frigid Soldier Field. Our last week's guest was there, Josh, and he enjoyed it. We didn't enjoy it. We all predicted a relatively close game. It wasn't at all. The Bears jumped up early, 14-0. They never really looked back. And the only thing I kind of would say that was positive was Andre Schmidt kicking a 50-yarder in that cold and wind was impressive to me. I know he grew up in suburban Chicago, so I guess he was going back home. And I think the Browns did find a kicker. Honestly, like after the opening week, he's been pretty much rock solid. I think he's missed one kick since then. It was actually at a game I was at in Foxborough. That was positive. Number two, Myles Garrett came within closer striking distance of Strahan. And I'm not being biased. I don't know when you guys watch. I thought that he should have absolutely been given a full sack on that one that he split with Shelby Harris. Shelby Harris even backed off on it. And number three, Carson Schwarzenegger a stud, and that's about it.
Yeah, I saw Carson Schwarzenegger actually for the game that he had. I want to say it was 14 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. I saw his odds for Defensive Rookie of the Year actually went down significantly. Like he went from minus 1,000 to minus 200. And Nick Emanwari, the safety for the Seahawks, was the one that's kind of climbing those ranks, and he's at like plus 150 or plus 200 now. So it looks like it's getting closer to a pick'em, and I'm not really understanding why. I went into the stats a little bit because I know Emanwari's had a pretty good year this year, but even just looking at the stats, he's nowhere close to Schwarzenegger. Schwarzenegger has more interceptions, significantly amount of more tackles. I think around the same pass deflections. Doesn't really seem close. But yeah, Jerome, Andre Schmidt, ever since week 1, like you just said, and we've touched on it a few times, since probably around week 4 or 5 about how consistent he's been for this team ever since week 1. Obviously played great. It looks like the Browns potentially have found their kicker. Don't know if they found their quarterback yet, though, Lando.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Schwarzenegger's an absolute stud. They found a diamond in a dozen there. I think, going off what you're saying, Kev, I think maybe they brought his odds down a little bit so they can get more money on the sports books.
No, potentially. I think that's probably not a bad point.
Yeah, but have a couple buddies. One of my best friends from high school, he's a huge Bears fan. They're stoked about the Bears, but my goodness, did the Browns look horrible. Honestly, I turned it off after a certain point. Complete opposite of Josh from last week. I'm more of a college guy than NFL, obviously, as you heard earlier. So once the Browns are the game's in the books, it's time for me to turn it off.
It's time for your Georgia Bulldogs, you're saying.
Well, the day before, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it, man. I mean, the Browns they're a frustrating team, and they've been for over a quarter century now at this point. And you really start wondering at this point, the flashes that we saw from Shedeur Sanders, really excluding the Ravens game. Jerome, we touched on it last week about how significantly better he's gotten each week, and this seemed to be almost reminiscent of the Baltimore game. It seemed like, especially in that first half. At one point he was 7 of 21, under 100 yards, and just hovering around that 30 to 40% completion percentage. And obviously he got that up. He finished just above 50% for the second week in a row. Actually, even the Titans game, he was just over 50. So Shedeur Sanders still very, very much a question mark for this team. And I honestly don't know where they go from here, man. Obviously there's 3 games left in the year, and they basically have come out and said Shedeur Sanders is going to be the starting quarterback the remainder of the year. And while I agree with that, I also don't know if I do. Shedeur obviously has clearly a higher ceiling than Dylan Gabriel does. You get the bigger plays with Shedeur Sanders, including a couple of those Isaiah Bond deep throws that we saw just this past week in Chicago. We've seen that pretty consistently. It feels like they touch on one of those post patterns. It seems like once a game. And even one of the post patterns they hit this week, Isaiah Bond was actually in motion, and you can see as soon as he crosses, as soon as he's in between the center and Shedeur Sanders, you see Shedeur lean in, yell at him. I'm assuming he's changing his route to that post pattern and that he saw something. So that obviously instills confidence in you as a Browns fan to be able to see that, okay, this kid's reading the defense, saw something there, got his speedy receiver in motion, and actually calculated, or at least called that hot route. So, I mean, that definitely gives you some hope there. But yeah, man, where do you stand, Jerome, right now with Shedeur Sanders? Obviously, you've been very much an advocate of his since before the draft. You obviously had a first-round grade on him, and based off of the consistencies / inconsistencies that we've seen over the last 5 weeks, where's your evaluation of the kid?
So obviously, Sunday was not a great day for the Shedeur faithful, and I'm obviously a part of that. But if I'm gonna look at it, honestly, and like you said, I got to be unbiased here. He didn't play a fantastic game. He didn't even play a great game. He didn't play a good game. I would honestly, all things considered, if I was like, one of these quarterback guru graders, whatever you want to call them, I'd probably give him a C-. I thought he made some, like we said, you said he made some nice deep ball throws. I was going to say, and then he ended up doing it. It was really nice to see him not bail the pocket and then take a sack. And then he did one of his classic, went back to his old, and those, they say old habits are hard to break, but you see him doing it less and less. And I guess it was a good thing that he didn't do it until 2 minutes left. I thought, in order, and I felt more so even the running game, Quinshon Judkins was getting touched before, he could feel the Bears defenders breathing on him before he even came close back to the line of scrimmage. Obviously, we know this offensive line stinks. I pride myself on knowing every Browns player that was on the roster. There was a couple different guys that, I'll be honest with you, I had no clue who the hell they were on Sunday. They brought in some linemen. The guy was terrible, and he was cut the night after the game. Last night, or because we're recording this on Tuesday.
Yeah, quick housekeeping.
Yeah, thank you. And then, like I said, so I don't know, the pass protection was terrible. There was one play in the game where he got, blitzed from a defensive tackle, like unblocked from a defensive tackle. I don't know how that happens.
I actually thought the pass blocking was okay. I thought the run blocking was non-existent.
It was atrocious. I thought the offensive line as a whole was atrocious, but I going into that game, as the week went on and on, I didn't expect anything else. You had Joel Bitonio out there who, when they needed him to probably have his best game of the season, he probably had his worst. He even had a couple missed assignments, and then of course Luke Whippler, maybe a nice backup center, 6 lineman type. He's not a starting center.
No, he's not.
Figured that out quickly on Sunday. KT Levinston, I've been criticizing him all season. He gave me no reason not to. Tevin Jenkins is like a journeyman who's probably another 6 lineman type. And then Cam Robinson is like kind of washed up. Like, So I didn't really expect Shedeur Sanders to look fantastic behind that line. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say that Shedeur Sanders didn't have his own faults. Like, the third interception was terrible. Like, I think he's so confident with Harold Fannin, and that's now working as a detriment to him because he seems to always lock his eyes on where's 44. And Harold Fannin's a hell of a tight end, but even Fannin does seem to have one drop a game. But I can understand the receiving core is probably not giving you, if you're under center, any confidence to give them the football.
Right.
Jerry Jeudy with another horrendous play, and it's been the season from hell from him, and that continued. He has a ball that he's juggling like a clown and just basically juggles right into the arms of Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, I will say, I thought that was a better play by Johnson than it was a bad play by Jeudy, but also Judy's got to come down with that ball.
Right. And then, like I said, the third interception I talked about, the second. The first one, I mean, not a terrible throw. Great play by the defensive lineman, but again, in the NFL, you're going to turn over the ball 3 times. It's really going to be tough. But like I said, all in all, I'd give him a C-. He did have some throws, he didn't, and then he also fell into some old habits and did some old things that we saw that we were hoping he doesn't do anymore. And I also was talking to a few people about this, and the Browns as a whole or a clown show. And I don't know whether it was on Shedeur Sanders, whether it was on the coaching staff, whoever the hell it was on, for your quarterback, for nobody to realize before they go out there for the first play of the game. By the way, at the inch line, thanks to our not so special teams, they're at the inch line, and then everybody comes to realize the quarterback doesn't have the play sheets in his wristband. I mean, that's just inexcusable. That's high school level shit that somebody's got to clean up.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I mean, they did have. I was listening to Ken Carman and Anthony Lima earlier this week, and they had relayed a message from Brian Hoyer that it is kind of a combination of effort between the coaching staff and the quarterback in order to make sure that you do have the right sheet in your wristband. So whoever's mistake it was. Now I know they had asked Stefanski after the game, did he have the wrong play sheet in there? And Stefanski went, no, yeah.
So
and then that was and then just basically bounced around the answer. He did the typical Kevin Stefanski, didn't give an answer to anything. And then they asked Shedeur Sanders later, and Shedeur goes, oh yeah, the play sheet just fell out. I just had to get it replaced. So I don't know what. It seems like the answers are, like the players and the coaches never seem to have the same answer to why things are not working out accordingly. And yeah, it's getting frustrating. And, Jerome, bouncing off of your, Shedeur Sanders getting locked on to Harold Fannin point, Shedeur had thrown the ball 35 times on Sunday, and 14 of those targets were to Harold Fannin. I mean, that's almost half of his passes. I mean, it's over a third. I want to say it's probably around 40. I didn't do the math on it, but I mean, if you're thrown to that guy that many times, obviously the defense is going to hone in on that, and obviously based off of the run game, whether it's Gabriel or Sanders under center, whoever we're facing doesn't respect them, because this is the 4 straight weeks in a row that Quinshon Judkins has not been able to get 4 yards per carry, and that should be pretty much expected of any starting quarterback. You should be able to get out there, hand the ball to them 3 times, and expect a first down, and that's what 4 yards per carry will get you. And anything below that to me is unacceptable, and I'm not blaming that on Quinshon Judkins. I'm blaming that on the offensive line, the scheming, the play calling, all of that. So yeah, it's been kind of a nightmare offensively.
Well, and they did well against Tennessee. Now, was that because Tennessee's an awful team? Like, the offense put up 29 points. I think that was not a season because they did score 31 against Miami. But that, I believe, that was also with a defensive touchdown. So offensively, yes, that was a season high against the Titans. And then to follow it up with 3. Look, the Browns are not a good team to begin with. And then you got to look at Andrew Berry, too, because look at this. They have no depth. I mean, there's guys out there we've never heard of. Some guy named Sam Ross was playing corner.
But by the way, I didn't even know about that guy. I didn't even notice him on the field. I watched the game live. I didn't even notice him until you had texted me and asked who the Sam Ross guy was. I was like, I don't know who you're talking about.
The other guard they put in when Tevin Jenkins went down, don't know the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad.
And honestly, like, what are they going to do at offensive line after this year? Because you got no answer at left tackle on the roster right now. You don't have an answer at right tackle, assuming that Jack Conklin's probably gone, and you can't really count on Dawan Jones to stay healthy. Left guard, you're expecting Joel Bitonio to retire. Ethan Poach just had that crazy injury at center.
He had an Achilles.
You've seen nothing from Luke Whippler that's going to inspire you any hope to
Teller's
say,
a free agent.
That's my starting center. And then, Teller's a free agent. So, I mean, you have to bring him back. I mean, that's the only starter on the offensive line right now that you can feel confident in. And even he has had a pretty down year when it comes to Wyatt Teller standards. So... And that's something that we've been able to look at since I can remember watching the Browns. You know, I just remember that first draft I was ever into was the Joe Thomas draft. And it seemed like ever since we had Joe Thomas up until even last year, maybe the year prior, we have had consistent offensive line play. And that's been the one thing that you've been able to look at the Cleveland Browns for as bad as they've been, the 4-12 years, the 1-31, those 2 years put together, they still had decent offensive line play. And now it seems like we've got an amazing defense. We have a pretty good running back tandem, and no quarterback, no receivers, and no offensive line.
Oh, that was another one, too. The other running back outside of Quinshon Judkins was a guy by the name of Travion Williams, who was signed Thursday night off the Chargers practice squad. I mean, they're at a point now where they're just, throwing any body they have out there. I mean, Mo Hurst hadn't played the entire season, signed back with the Browns, and played like 15 snaps on Sunday. I at D tackle, they don't have any bodies. Landon, Kevin and I debate on Shedeur Sanders weekly. Where do you come out on Shedeur Sanders as our guest tonight?
I wanted to see him play. I first did not want the Browns to draft him, but wanted to see him play. Now that he is here in Cleveland, obviously we have no choice. But happy to see him play. I thought that they were going to let him play about the last 4 games of the year. I guess it was Gabriel concussion, right?
Yeah.
So then he got put in. I think, to be honest with you, I think he's making a lot of rookie mistakes. The one thing that does drive me nuts about him is, and I feel like he did this in college, and a lot of people said that he had a horrible offensive line. I don't know what they're seeing there, because when I watched him in college, he had a great offensive line and sat behind that offensive line. It almost seemed like for 30 seconds and was basically directing receivers where to go. And I feel like with some plays, he has definitely taken that into the NFL. And he is and basically he's just holding onto the football too long. And I'm like, hey, man, if it's not there, throw it away. Which I know Kevin Stefanski in his postgame did say he made a couple nice plays by throwing the ball away and not taking a sack. The one thing I did like to see is, I don't think we saw it the first couple starts, is him actually taking off and running up the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, Lando, and you and I had talked a lot about that too, about when Shedeur Sanders was coming out, about how we didn't understand where this bad offensive line play narrative was coming from. Because every time I did watch Colorado, and yet there were plays, I mean, like with every offensive line, it seems like whether you're good or not, there's going to be some plays where the defense gets the better part of you. Absolutely. I didn't feel like I saw a lot of that when Shedeur was at Colorado. And yeah, I completely agree. It seemed like there was a lot of Shedeur kind of doing the scramble drill in college, roll out a little bit, point to a receiver, direct them somewhere, and then he would hit them. And that's why, Jerome, I know we had talked, it was either last week or 2 weeks ago, and you had pointed out that you felt like Shedeur Sanders' accuracy was really shining through in the NFL, and that's what was getting him with the big completions and stuff. And, he did it, like the completion he had to Jerry Jeudy against Tennessee on that post pattern that ended up in a touchdown. The pass to Isaiah Bond in Vegas that we were at, amazing throw. Even some of those deep throws to Bond that he's hit over the last 2 weeks, where he stood in the pocket and hit. Absolutely, I agree with you when it comes to the accuracy. I feel like what stood out most for me, or to me from him, is honestly just his ability to be able to create something out of nothing. Like, there was a play, he was getting brought down against the Bears this past week and completed a 5-yard hitch pattern to Harold Fannin as he was falling, and Fannin ran and got the first down. And that's like, okay, I love that he makes plays like that. I don't see I feel like he was drawn up coming out of college as like this West Coast type of quarterback that hits people on these timing routes, and he's pinpoint accurate as long as he's within a system. I've never seen him play within a system. ever. So I don't know where that narrative came from. But yeah, like his ability to roll out, throw on the run, or just even stop on a dime. We saw that a couple times against Tennessee where he'd be rolling out, stop on a dime because he saw an edge rusher and deliver a strike across the middle. That is where I feel like he is his best.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I think what does encourage me that if I had to pick one positive and why I did grade him as a C- against the Bears is there were a couple times that he stood in there and got absolutely, his shit rocked for a better term and delivered a on the money ball. The one deep ball to Bond you speak of, he got pummeled on that. And there was another one, I believe it was late in garbage time. He got his shit rocked again. He stood in there and delivered a slant pattern to Laverdane. And I think to see, like, the first game against the Ravens, he refused to stay in the pocket until the final drive, I thought. And I think we're seeing more and more of him. He still does resort to it, as I mentioned previously, of bailing, but we're seeing him, even when he gets his shit rocked, staying in there and being willing to climb the pocket more and more each week, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know if I can give him. You said a C-.
Yeah.
I think, and I know this is going to sound like me being a hater. I don't think I can give him anything above a D-.
Okay.
I think it's very close to being an F from me, but just based off of there being zero ground game and the defense giving you nothing to work with this game, or even the special teams, I don't think I can go as low as an F. But I just can't look at that. Throwing the ball 35 times, not getting to 200 yards, not having a touchdown, throwing 3 interceptions. Whether one of them was his fault or not, he also got away with not having a fumble.
Yeah, which I do agree with.
Regardless, 0 touchdowns and 3 turnovers. Like I don't think I can give him anything above a D-. And yeah, I mean, I hope he comes to play this week. Obviously, the Browns have Buffalo coming to town. That'll be an interesting one. I can't imagine that will be a close game. So I would imagine we'll be seeing Shadur Sanders slinging the ball a lot on Sunday.
Real quick, if Buffalo does win that game, they do clinch a playoff spot too.
That's a big game for Buffalo.
Yeah,
I want to say Buffalo. I saw the Browns are 9-point home dogs.
I'm surprised it's single digits if that's the case.
I believe that's what I saw. Let me double check that. Landon, where do you come out on the rest of the year? Shadur Sanders should be the starter the rest of the year. Why? I mean, that's what they're doing, but we haven't talked about it. We haven't had you as a guest yet, so I'm just curious.
Yeah, I definitely think you got to. I mean, at this point with the Browns, you got to throw them out there and see what you got. I mean, what is it, 4 or 5 games now?
3 more.
Well, no, has he played so far?
Oh, he's started 4. He's played in 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a big enough sample size. So by the end of the year, he has played in half the season, 8 games, or a little bit, barely under half.
Yeah, because what did Gabriel get, 6?
Yeah.
His first start was week 3 in London?
No, week 3 was Flacco, because that was against the Packers.
Gabriel's first start was week 5.
Okay, Minnesota and London, right?
Flacco after Detroit. That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so I think you got to give him at least an 8-game sample size. But I mean, I know I'm gonna kind of reach into the bag here, but me personally, I know me and Kevin have talked about this. We're on 2 complete opposite ends of the spectrum. I think me and Jerome are on the same spectrum here. I do not think you draft a quarterback in this next year's draft.
There we go.
Agree.
Let's talk about it.
Agree.
Let's talk about it.
I knew it was going to get to this. This question was coming up, so I'm just going to grab it right now and go with it. I think personally, when it comes to it, I think you just me personally watching a bunch of college football, I do not see any quarterback in this next upcoming draft being a franchise quarterback. I just don't see him. I think this is a very, very bad draft class, and just kind of going off a limb here, if just reaching into this quarterback class, if I'm Arch Manning, I'm definitely going into the draft just because you're going to probably get drafted as a top 5 quarterback just off your name.
He's going back today.
I know he's going to go back. I think that's silly because I think he would get drafted top 5. If I'm the Browns, I'm not taking a quarterback until at least round 3 or later.
So I think if the Browns take a rookie quarterback in this upcoming draft and it's not in the first round, I think it's a complete waste. I don't know why you would take one let's say in the mid rounds, if you just took 2 of them the previous year, like I feel like at that point it's like, okay, we took 2 young guys in the middle of the draft last year. If we're going to take another guy, it's got to be like the guy. And yes, I'm in favor of the Browns potentially taking a quarterback in April. You know, if you're a loyal listener, you know who I've been on. I do have to do a little bit more scouting on Dante Moore, because honestly, I've watched some of his games. I haven't watched a ton of them. I know Mendoza beat him in his house, though. So he did. But
That's fair.
All I'm saying when it comes to the quarterback is, hey, if there is one that you think is a can't miss, I think no matter what the roster looks like, you take them and you worry about it later. That's exactly what the Bengals did with Joe Burrow. And I'm not saying that the Bengals should any means be a blueprint to success at all. But they took the best quarterback on the board that they felt was going to be able to change their franchise around. They had a horrible year that year. And then the following year, they were in the Super Bowl. So I think if you find that guy, he can overcome the odds, but you have to find that guy. And I think Mendoza's the type of guy that can lead a locker room. I've been very impressed with what he's seen, or from what I've seen of him in college this year. And no, he didn't have the amazing Heisman stat lines that the Joe Burrows and Caleb Williams have had. But I think he's a solid, consistent. He's got the quarterback build. He can move if you want him to. But if he's not there, I'm actually right now, unless I see some more Dante Moore and I end up coming around to him, I'm just in favor of taking best player available. I know the team needs offensive linemen. I know they need receivers. I'm telling you, dude, if a quarterback's not there worth taking, I'm just taking Caleb Downs and just not worrying about it.
Do you think they're going to get a high enough pick, though, to even sniff Mendoza?
So I was thinking about this earlier. Do you remember the reports about the Browns potentially moving up from 2 to 1 last year for Cam Ward?
Yes.
So I think they've already told, if those reports are true, I think the Browns have already told you that they're willing to move up for a quarterback. So I think if they're in the top 4 right now, which they are, and they lose out, and let's say they go up to 3 or 2, or even let's say the rest of those teams above them lose out and they're still sitting at 4. The Titans are sitting at 1. The Giants are in the top 3 right now. Neither of those teams are going to be looking to draft quarterbacks. I see no reason why they wouldn't trade down to 4 if the Browns are still there. If the Browns really want to move up to take a quarterback and they know that, okay, we're going to take an edge rusher, I don't know why you wouldn't move down a couple spots.
So here's where I come out on it. I would absolutely run with Shedeur Sanders next year.
No shock.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody's shocked.
And you want to win games.
But here's the deal. Honestly, I think the Browns, honestly, all over the field, watching them, they are very talent deficient. Kind of what Landon brought up. Mm-hmm. And so you have 2 first-round picks that absolutely, no matter what in my book, has to be a lineman and a receiver. That is the position I think they need the most.
I agree with you in terms of positions they need the most, but I feel like when you draft for need, you end up overdrafting and then you end up taking busts. I think you just take the best player available. I mean, we've seen good offensive linemen get drafted in rounds 2 and 3 before, in round 4 even. Like, maybe the Browns haven't been drafting great offensive linemen in those rounds outside of like Dawan Jones in the 4th round. When he's on the field, has been good. It's just, can he get on the damn field, please?
Well, the best... Probably, Batonio was top of the 2nd round years and years ago.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was referring more so to the Andrew Berry era.
Okay, sure.
Even the John Dorsey era, quite frankly.
I gave you a throwback there. I threw it back to the Ray Farmer era.
Yeah, one of his rare good picks.
I think real quick, just going off Jerome, I think offensive line you need to draft. And the only reason why I say this is like the big knock on Burrow if history keeps repeating itself. I mean, we might be looking at the big what if question for him because
he might be the next Andrew Luck.
Yeah, you might take Mendoza at pick 2, but the guy's going to get killed back there. Look at what the big knock in Cincinnati is every year. They have a horrible offensive line and just keep getting Joe Burrow killed back there.
And the Browns did that to Tim Couch. They put him into the organization with no talent around him, and he got his ass kicked week in and week out.
So that's my other thing.
So I do see that point.
I saw, and I don't know what the numbers came out against the Bears too, but I saw Shedeur Sanders was hurried or pressured or knocked down on 63% of his dropbacks against Tennessee. That is a crazy high number.
Do you think that was a result of him holding the ball too long, though?
No, I mean maybe.
I did look at some of the. I mean, he averaged. I wanted to say it was like between 3 to 4 seconds and like to throw the ball this week per play on pass attempts.
Against the Bears.
Yeah.
I don't know what the numbers came out on that of what he got, but I do know the Titans game I saw because they did bring it up on the television broadcast in Chicago. So to me, and I know not everybody's in the room's going to agree with it. I think he's shown me enough that I'd be willing to say, okay, let's try to supplement him with some more talent, see what happens, and run it next year. Because whether the Browns probably start Shedeur Sanders next year or Fernando Mendoza, I don't see a Lombardi in their future. And so I think when you are this talent deficient, you build around a quarterback who's showing you some glimpses, showing you some, he's giving you a couple twinkles, of brilliance here and there. And I think that's the best way to do it. And then if, like, hypothetically, they're probably, and we all hate to say this, the man we refer to as the albatross is probably going to have to be on the roster. Because
potentially.
If they cut him next year, I believe it's an $80 million cap hit.
They have to pay him that anyway, though.
Versus if you keep him on the roster, then you could if you keep him on the roster, you could push it down to, I think, now like 2033 and 4, and maybe do some like deferrals like they do in baseball, which is fine. Spread it out, because if you cut him now, I believe all that money counts against your cap up front, which kills you. So most likely, like, if Andrew Berry stays, it would not shock me at all to see a quarterback room of Shedeur Sanders as the starter, Deshaun Watson is the highest paid backup in human history, and then probably Dylan Gabriel is the third stringer.
I think if Deshaun Watson is suiting up, I think he's starting games for the Cleveland Browns. I don't see Deshaun Watson making $70-80 million that year and then just like not playing and just suiting up and riding the bench. But I do want to counter your going to next year with Shedeur Sanders point. Let's say Shedeur Sanders like does not light it up next year, right? Like, let's say he goes 3,400 yards, 20 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, something relatively average to below average in the league. But the Browns defense keeps them in games. The Browns finish 8-9, 7-10, somewhere in there, and they're picking around pick 15, give or take a couple picks. You were not in position to go after a quarterback, and you were clearly a quarterback away at that point.
Yeah, see, I mean, to me,
I think you find yourself in the exact same position that we were in with Baker, and that's a quarterback that cannot get you over the hump, and you find yourself desperate again, trying to get that superstar quarterback, and then you end up potentially setting yourself back again.
I think, real quick, with them saying Deshaun Watson is going to be competing next year for a starting job, I think that might be a little like hint that they are probably not looking at quarterback. But going off Kevin's point, the only thing that does worry me is, let's say you do draft, you keep your 2 first-round picks, the one from obviously their own and then Jacksonville. And let's say you take an offensive lineman and a receiver. What's going to stop them from next year when they're, like you said, 7-10, and they're going to say, well, Shedeur had a bunch of rookies with him. Let them run another year with the guys that are now going to be second-year people. Because I just don't think you're going to be able to turn around the offensive line kind of like the Bears did just in one offseason. That was insane.
Well, yeah, they went and spent a lot of money on it. And
they had guys develop too. Like Darnell Wright's developed into a phenomenal right tackle for them.
Yeah, I mean, they did go out and get Tooney, and they got that center. Like and that's probably like the thing for the Browns is if I was them, I would have tried to re-sign Ethan Pocic. Now whether he's under, and I can't remember if he's under contract or not.
I believe he's a free agent after this year.
Okay. So either way, now he's not playing for you. Luke Whippler, again, nice backup. Like, I don't know, to me, tackle's the most important thing. So that's where I'd go first. And then, like, look, if you take Fernando Mendoza hypothetically, then, to Landon's point, who's going to protect him? Because it's sure as hell not going to be Cam Robinson. Like, that's, I think you're you're just making the team worse in the long run if you take a quarterback and you have nothing else versus if you have everything else and Shedeur Sanders plays average or above average next year, you're probably maybe in the hunt graphic on CBS Sundays.
I don't know, man. I would counter this. I would counter that also with, obviously it didn't work out for this organization, but the Lions had nobody outside of literally Calvin Johnson, and they still drafted Matt Stafford. And they didn't really have an offensive line to protect him. They didn't really have a running game to get him going. It was just the best receiver in football and a very, very young quarterback. And like I said, it never worked out for the Lions. I think they might have had one playoff berth with Stafford, if that. Did they even?
I think they made it to the playoffs one year.
Okay.
I think
twice. And then they realized, okay, it's better for both parties if we split up. Obviously, the Lions are in a great position right now. The Rams got their Super Bowl, and they're in a great position right now. Like, it worked out for both parties there. But my point being is that, like, the Lions saw a quarterback that they felt like was worth potentially being a top 10 quarterback in this league, and they took him and they worried about it later. I'm not saying Mendoza, if you take Mendoza, let's say if the Browns have the first or second pick and they take him, yeah, he's probably set up to not have a very good rookie year. That's just how it's going to be. Like, he's clearly not. You're not going to be able to have the capital to get an elite offensive lineman or elite skill players, whatever it might be. But Fernando Mendoza, maybe he doesn't even start next year. Maybe you sign a veteran and have him sit for a year. Not that it would be appealing for many veterans, but that's also an option. Like, you don't have to draft him and put him out there day one. And I just don't want to play the game, okay, we need an offensive tackle, but the highest one that's in this draft, and I haven't done too much scouting on this class yet, but let's say if the highest tackle rated in this class, we have him at 20th, I don't want to take him at 3 just because we need a tackle. I would rather just take the best player available and then worry about it later.
Well, outside of probably, quite frankly, looking at the Browns roster, outside of probably edge rusher, middle linebacker, corner, I think your top 2 are good. You could probably kick that till a couple rounds down the road. Like, this roster needs about every position, right? Like, and so I think no matter what, by not taking a quarterback, you're helping the team out in some way. And I know
in the short term, absolutely.
I know I've seen enough from Shedeur that I want to see more next year. Unless, hypothetically, let's say these last 3 games, like, he literally just plays awful, like terrible, and I think, to me, like, you got to consider, like, when saying he plays awful or terrible, let's look at the extenuating circumstances. Like, they're not perfect right now. There never are for a young quarterback, but these are pretty awful. Like, the talent at receiver, we've talked about all year. It's been a problem.
They were awful for Gabriel too.
And it's more or less, it's a very, I mean, the roster was just constructed poorly this year. And I know they were hamstrung by the cap, but the roster is constructed poorly. So again, there just wasn't enough depth on it. So I want to move forward with him, but I do reserve the right to change my opinion based upon if the next 3 games go horrendous. But sitting here on December 15th, I believe it is, 16th. Yeah.
16th as we record. This will release on the 18th.
Yeah, I want Shedeur Sanders to be the quarterback in 2026.
I think the nice thing to know, just to kind of put out there is, me personally, I think the worst team in the NFL is the Raiders. I think they are.
Yeah, they're really
horrible.
bad.
And I think
Kevin and I got to see how bad they were in person.
Yeah, I think.
Awful.
I mean, just watching them, they look absolutely lost. So I think, to be honest with you, I think they're going to draft one of the quarterbacks 100%. I think the nice thing, if you're the Browns, if you do finish 3, like with the 3rd overall pick, and let's say you don't move up, like to Kevin's point, you literally are drafting whatever you want. So if there's a lineman that's, let's say, ranked at 5th, I mean, you basically just you're able to take him. Yeah,
just take best player available. And that's basically that's what the Browns basically did last year. They traded away, they got the extra first-round pick, and then, I remember, like, Jerome and I were hanging out with a few people, and one guy was adamant, if we don't get Hunter and we trade down, we have to take Ashton Genty. And I told him, I was like, hey, based off of how analytically driven the Browns are, like, there's no shot they're taking him at 5. Like, everything that you analyze when it comes to football says to not take a running back high. So what makes you think that this regime's going to? And then the highest player on the board was Mason Graham, and they took him, and he's been great this year. And obviously the Malik Collins absence has been killer for this Browns defense. Clearly, I didn't realize how much of a presence he truly was on the interior until these last 2 weeks. I mean, we've been getting gashed up the gut now ever since he's gotten injured. But yeah, I would just take the best player available unless you truly believe the only position that you literally have to jump up the draft board is quarterback. And that's just how the league's built. And the other teams have basically made it that way because we've got, the 49ers in 2021 traded 3 first-round picks to move up for Trey Lance, for Christ's sake. Trey Lance.
They got tricked into that one.
Yeah, they got tricked into that one. And then you know what the thing is about that team, though? I may have said this on a previous episode, but they realized their mistake immediately, realized they drafted some dude the following year or 2 years later in the 7th round that was better than him, and then just gave up on him. They're like, okay, yeah, we realized our mistake. The Browns have not done that. They refuse to do it. They just keep doubling and tripling down on their mistake from almost 4 years ago now.
Well, that's the other thing. The Browns have traded up for quarterbacks so many times in the first round, or moved around, whatever, and this guy's the guy, and it's just I'm just not willing to do that. I don't think Fernando Mendoza's, to Landon's point, is good enough to warrant the kind of moving up for him and all that.
Can I give you a crazy Brown stat that you might not believe?
Sure.
Since they came back in '99, they have only drafted 2 quarterbacks in the top 20 of the draft.
Yeah, Tim Couch and
Baker.
And Baker. The other ones have been at pick 22. Literally, it's been pick 1 or pick 22. Brady Quinn at 22, Manziel at 22, Brandon Weeden at 22.
And I believe they traded up for all 3 of those.
They traded up for Brady. They traded up for
Johnny.
Yeah, Brandon Weeden fell to them, if I remember correctly. And then they did trade
yeah.
up for Johnny because they had the 26th pick and then moved up to 22. So as long as they don't take a quarterback at 22, I'm actually completely fine. If they take a quarterback at any other spot in the draft, I'll be okay.
I'll let we'll see what happens. Now,
last thing, real quick. You know what's hilarious though? You're getting older when you want the Browns to draft offensive linemen in the top 5.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember when the Browns drafted Joe Thomas. I was so mad.
I was fuming.
And last year, his name's escaping me. Who's the tackle from LSU that went to the
Will Campbell.
Campbell. I wanted the Browns to take Will Campbell last year so bad.
Jerome and I were on that train too. We wanted them to trade down, and if Will Campbell or Mason Graham, that was literally what we said. If one of those two are available, if we trade down, take them.
I will self-admit that I was on the Shador too by the time the draft day rolled around.
It's just funny.
Yeah, you were.
When you're little, you want the hot positional player.
The highlight players.
Yep.
That's what you want. I remember even, it would have been ridiculous if the Browns took him, but I remember watching Tavon Austin in West Virginia thinking, my God, if we could get this guy.
But what if?
And to your point, Landon, I 100% agree. And as you age and become wiser, you realize this game is still won and lost in the trenches. And that's why the Browns draft offensive lineman and not Fernando Mendoza.
Well, depending on the value. You don't want to take Cam Irving. You want to take Joe Thomas.
Right. That's fair. Real quick, last Browns thing. So where are you guys at with Kevin? I think he's got to go.
Okay, you realize if he goes, Shadur's out of here.
I don't think that's necessarily the case.
I think that's pretty much.
Because Kevin never wanted Shador. We went over this.
Jerome, every single decision he has made has been, in the media's eyes, sabotaging Shador Sanders. What coach or general manager is going to want to come in here and be criticized for every single decision they make based off of a 5th rounder?
Well, before you get all out of hand and start getting all hot and bothered about Shador Sanders,
I just asked you a question and look at how hot and bothered you are.
Andrew Berry, if Andrew Berry's still here, which I think there's a good chance for whatever reason, because the Haslams always do things ass backwards, I think there's a good chance Andrew Berry stays and Kevin goes. That's where I'm at with it this week. I change that every week based on the feel. That's where I feel this week. If Andrew Berry stays, Shador's staying. That was Andrew Berry's guy. I believe that. I think if Berry's still here, Shador's here. And I think...
I'm done with the diva quarterbacks. Berry went after Watson and he went after Sanders. I'm done. I'm done with Berry. I don't care how good of a class he had this year.
So you think they're both gone?
That's kind of what I would like. Yeah, at this juncture, I was teetering last week on it. And the thing that we've talked about, Jerome, the last couple weeks is that the team hasn't given up on Kevin Stefanski.
They gave up on Sunday.
They looked completely clueless this past Sunday.
They gave up, and also Kevin, he looked like he just doesn't know what to do anymore. He doesn't know how to he's losing it. And
he usually looks pretty even keel, but he actually looked like he didn't really care too much on Sunday from what I saw.
Yeah. So I do think that if Barry stays, Shador stays. Landon, what do you think?
I mean, I know I've told you guys I've been on the fire Stefanski ever since you had 2 weeks to prepare for the 1-win Jets.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just inexcusable. You can't lose that football game. You lost to actually two teams week 7? So you lost to two teams after week 7 that had 1 win.
Yeah.
The Titans and the Jets. I mean, that's just inexcusable. And on top of that, just the penalties are just. I mean, that all starts with the coaching. What did they have? They ran 2 penalties in their first after one play.
They had like 4 penalties in the first 4 minutes of the game.
Yeah,
it's just inexcusable.
You're already starting backed up again, like on the inch line, and then you.
I actually didn't even mind the original penalty because it literally backed them up like maybe 2 inches. So I was like, whatever. Like I'm not even kidding you. I was like, whatever. It backs them up to. It's still 1st and 10. You know,
and then they got like what?
Too many men on the field, which Harold Fannin did a great job trying to disguise that.
He tried to.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. How does that happen that quick? And then you got the quarterback with the wrong play sheet in his wristband. I mean, it's just silly mistakes, and I'm just tired of being the laughing stock of the NFL.
Same, dude. It just seems like no matter who ownership is, no matter who's in management, no matter who's coaching the team, it's just like Brown's mistakes. And they just keep on happening.
So Kevin, you're confident in your opinion though that if they get new coach, that Shador Sanders is gone.
I'm pretty confident. Yeah.
I disagree. All right, we'll move on to college football.
Here we go.
So we'll start. I guess we'll just basically go with the way the schedule goes this weekend. We got the first round matchups. Landon. Neither of our teams are a part of this because we have those nice first-round buys where we sit around and watch.
Actually, all 3 of our teams ain't part of this.
Well, you got
2 of them have a game to look forward to.
Yeah. I mean, one of us should, but they got hosed.
You should be looking forward to eating some brown cinnamon sugar Pop-Tarts, but you can't
trust
even
me, if
do
I was
that.
eating Pop-Tarts, they wouldn't be brown sugar.
Oh, those are the best. But anywho, our teams both have buys. So Alabama and Oklahoma, both teams in your conference, the Southeastern Conference.
Yes.
So please break it down. Go ahead.
I mean, it is a rematch. They have faced before. It's one of Alabama's losses. The thing that really interests me with Alabama is they have some injuries, and it's going to be interesting to see if these guys play. So you got. I mean, that was part of the reason why Georgia absolutely exposed them last week. You got Jam Miller did not play. Their starting running back. Their backup running back, I think his name's Derek Hill. He's like 6 foot 240, and they were throwing screen passes to him. He's a downhill runner. He's like Derrick Henry. You're not throwing the ball to him out in the flat. They have LT Overton, which is a defensive tackle for them. He literally destroyed Georgia the first time they played. He's injured. Okay. And then they have an offensive lineman, Cam Dewberry, who's also injured. So, I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, it'll depend on if they can get some of those guys back. The biggest thing for me, though, is when I look at this Alabama team, they can't run the football. I think Jam Miller's their top rusher at 500 yards.
Which is weird for an Alabama team.
100%. Yeah. I mean, you look at all the running backs in the NFL. You got Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry. I mean, Eddie Lacy was a stud. Trent Richardson.
Mark Ingram.
Mark Ingram. I remember Glenn Coffey.
Jameer Gibbs.
I was just about to say, how did we not say Gibbs?
Yeah, which actually I did not know. Jameer Gibbs actually started at Georgia Tech and then transferred to Alabama.
I actually didn't know that.
So, I mean, when you look at this, but the thing is when I look at the Alabama receiving core, I think depth-wise it is the best in college football. The problem is Ty Simpson, his stock has kind of plummeted.
I don't think Ty Simpson's any good, personally.
I mean, I think he's got 26 touchdowns in the year and like 5 picks. So, like, I mean, clearly he can take care of the football, but the reason is they said his completion percentage has gone down tremendously. I mean, you got Isaiah Horton, you got Ryan Williams, and Jeremy Bernard. Jeremy Bernard came with Kalen DeBoer from Washington. The only thing that speaking of Alabama, the only thing that does weird me out, and Jerome, I'm sure you can attest to this, and Kevin, I've talked to this. Every time there's a head coaching opportunity open, Kalen DeBoer's name is always in it, which makes no sense to me.
I don't understand that because Alabama moved the moon, the stars, and the earth to get him down there from Washington. And I know that the Bama fan base was like very displeased with him at first. But it's just a tough. Like Nick Saban had a good bit going there for a long time.
Yeah, he was all right there.
I would even call it a set. Maybe I think it was more than a bit.
Yeah, that's true. And like that's a tough act to follow. And I know, but I think now that they're back in the playoff, they went 9-3, whatever. Like the fans are giving them a little more ease and grace now. But we all three know that the word patience doesn't exist in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
No.
It's either win everything and win the title or see ya.
And then also the cool thing about this game is I think this game has the potential to be one of the best games this weekend.
I think it should be, right?
Yeah, because they both are very good at defense. I mean, Alabama's got Justin Jefferson, believe it or not. He's a linebacker for them. He's really good.
Didn't know that.
And then Oklahoma, the only thing that weirds me out about Oklahoma is John Mateer, ever since he came back from that thumb injury, he has been horrible.
Yeah, and I like John Mateer a lot. Honestly, I do. I don't know necessarily how his style would translate to the NFL at all or whatever, but I've had fun watching John Mateer. Like, he reminds me a lot, and I know it's like the same school and they look relatively similar, but he reminds me a lot of Baker, the way that he plays. And piggybacking Lando off of Alabama not having a run game for the first time in what feels like forever, Oklahoma having a defense now is also bizarre. Like, they've always been score 50, give up 40.
I think that goes along the lines of they hired Brent Venables, whose whole background was in defense.
He was the DC at Clemson.
And he ran a hell of a defense. And I think, with him, that being his background, he just wasn't going to be the head coach of any program and not have a good defense.
Honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, both of these teams can't really run the football. I think they're like 8 yards within each other for rushing yards per game. And the big playmaker on Oklahoma is Isaiah Satenia. Dude's a stud. He's got like 940 yards on the year. So, I mean, it's just going to be, can they get him going? The problem is, it's going to be the Alabama turnover game. That was what killed them in the first game. They literally, I think, turned the ball over 3 times. And, look at the Browns game. Shedeur turns it over 3 times. You're not going to win too many games turning the ball over 3 times.
No matter what level of football. Who do you guys like? The spread is Alabama's 1.5-point dogs. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, Oklahoma's 1.5-point dogs. Alabama's 1.5-point favorites.
Okay.
I'm gonna roll with the Tide in this one. I just trust Alabama more. I know they don't have Nick Saban and that you can just put that blind faith into Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide anymore. I trust Alabama more. I think it's funny that they, losing to Georgia just in this SEC championship game, but beating them previously in the year, I think it's going to be a little bit of the same. They lost to Oklahoma earlier this year. I think they're going to get their revenge this time around. So I got I got Alabama covering the 1.5.
And winning outright.
And winning outright.
Right.
Well, they're 1.5 point.
It's basically
favorites.
a pick 'em already.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it basically is a pick 'em.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know why I keep thinking Oklahoma's favorite.
Yeah, the spread's on there. I know.
Yeah,
if you're a viewer or listener, you can't see. I just have the spread next to the team.
It's literally on our monitor in the studio, and I'm just being an idiot, quite frankly.
It's all right.
Landon, you broke it down beautifully for us.
Yeah, you did. Thank you.
And I'm going to predict something. Based off everything you said, I think you like Oklahoma.
I actually do not. I actually like Alabama in this game. I think going off Kev, it is very tough to beat the same team twice. And I think, like I said, they have the most depth at receiver. I think a lot of the receivers could start at probably any school in the nation besides Ohio State, be their number one receiver. Ryan Williams, I think he was toe-to-toe with Jeremiah Smith. Don't really know what happened. I don't know if it was just other receivers getting involved this year. But the one thing that is important to recognize about Oklahoma is they do have one of the best third down defenses in college football. I think they hold people to about 27% completion percentage on third down.
That's really good.
So it'll be, can Alabama get in those third and shorts and manageable? Yeah. The problem is they don't really have a run game. So it's kind of like, if Alabama doesn't get some of those players back, one of their linemen, LT Overton, Jam Miller, do they have a shot? Yes, but I don't like their odds. So I think if they can get most of those guys back, I'm definitely going with Alabama.
Well, and something that I don't even think we've even hit on yet is this game's taking place in Oklahoma.
Yes.
So the Sooners got the home field in this one.
Yeah, and that's why I like the Sooners in Norman.
I had a feeling they were going to take the Sooners.
Oh yeah, Boomer Sooner will be out. And here's the thing: they went to Tuscaloosa and won, and it was a hell of a win. And I actually bet them that day. And Kevin and I were at a Friendsgiving, and I did win some other folks some money that day by them trailing me. I advised people
I forgot about that.
to take Oklahoma plus the 4.5. They won outright on the road that day. I like them to win a close game by 3 here. I like them to be the home dogs, cover the plus 1.5 and win outright. I am worried about Mateer, though. He hasn't been the same. And I remember that first week, I think what happened, quite frankly, is he came back too early. Because they showed him throwing the ball, and you could still see his hand all stitched up, and the thing's bleeding, and at the Cotton Bowl, and what the hell's going on? I mean,
I'll be honest with you.
Back.
I don't think if they weren't playing Texas, he wouldn't have came back. I mean, when you go to Oklahoma, that's like
the Red River rivalry.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to say it because it's an absolute mouthful, and half of the time I butcher it. Yeah. But
I just slow myself down.
It's a tongue twister for sure. But I think if they weren't playing Texas, he would have never came back. And I mean, he's just looked bad since then.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I know he has had. I mean, what he didn't play in the SEC championship, so he has had about like 2.5, almost 3 weeks to recover now. But I just don't think with a thumb injury. I mean, you guys have all had hand injuries, fingers, whatever.
Oh, sure.
I mean, they just linger, and it's like, I mean, to have surgery on one. I mean,
yeah,
might as well call him Justin Herbert Jr.
The other thing I like is, to your point, Oklahoma and Ty Simpson's been falling. I could see him having a couple crucial turnovers for the Tide, and I think Oklahoma's got a good enough defense, and Mateer will do just enough for them to take care of the Crimson Tide, who shouldn't have been there to begin with. That's a whole nother story.
That's right. That should have been this team, right, Jerome?
I have to agree. I do have to agree.
I am going to be completely honest with you guys. When it comes to it, I never thought once that the debate was between Notre Dame and Alabama. I think the debate was 100% between Miami and Notre Dame.
It totally was.
I just don't think. I just
think it should have been. I just think 3 losses.
Well, we talked about that last week. We don't have to get into all that. Let's move on. Let's talk about Miami. They are.
This is the battle of Notre Dame's 2 losses.
Yeah. Not everything's about Notre Dame.
No, but it is. It is. Miami.
It all runs through Notre Dame in his head.
They're not on the rundown this week.
Real quick.
Yeah, but we've talked about them enough, for God's sake. All right,
real quick. One thing I do want to make note of that's super cool is the fact that these teams get to host a playoff game. It's 4 new stadiums hosting a playoff game this year, which I think is so cool.
Yeah, you know who hosted the first playoff game last year?
Enough. We all know. Yeah, and I'll give them
Kev, I actually don't remember. Can you remind me, please?
It was the Irish.
Oh, okay.
And
they won the first ever 12.
And I'll give them credit. They did wipe the field with Indiana that night.
Yeah.
But anyway, Miami, Florida. I feel like if I say it again,
Miami, Florida at 7. Texas A&M. A&M's 3.5-point dogs. Or 3.5-point favorites, at home with the 12th man.
At College Station.
Yep.
Miami, there was a lot of debate whether they should have been in there or not, like Landon pointed out. They didn't go to the conference championship game. They had a bad loss to Louisville. You know what? I think Texas A&M, they did lose their last game of the year to Texas, and that's, a big rivalry game too. I do like Texas A&M at home here, and I think, you know what? I think that with the 12th man behind them, Miami has not played that tough a schedule as A&M has. I think A&M's more battle-tested, more ready. Landon, tell me if I'm right or wrong.
I mean, A&M's definitely had a tough road. I mean, when you play, obviously, Big Ten, SEC, you play a tough schedule. Kyle Field is very tough to play at.
Oh, it's
super tough. Kevin knows. I mean, with his Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Yeah, they won there last year. Yeah.
I mean, it's a tough. They're undefeated there this year. A&M is. The thing is This is actually
comeback against South Carolina. Sorry, I just thought of it.
Yeah, they were down 30-3 at half. Yeah. So Frank Beamer pumping up the crowd and ends
that was
up
unbelievable.
Shane Beamer.
I think Frank Beamer's passed away.
I think he has. So the cool thing is, going off what Jerome said earlier about the games won in the trenches, this is a perfect game for it.
Yeah.
You got Akeem Mesidor on Miami's front. He has, I think, like 7 sacks on the year. He leads their team in sacks. And then A&M's got a great offensive line. I think, actually, A&M has only allowed Marcel Reed to get sacked 10 times all season.
Marcel Reed has been impressive.
Yeah, so, and he actually is going back to school, which is kind of cool. But so you got him. I mean, they got a heck of an offense, A&M does. And they actually might get their starting running back, Le'Veon Moss, back. So they might get him back, but they got Casey Concepcion. They got Mario Craver. Both of those guys are great. The only thing for Miami is they do have Keonta Scott, their best defensive back, and he might not be playing. So I think it's kind of a lose-lose situation for Miami, because if they keep Marcel Reed in the pocket, I don't think with their best defensive back they're going to be able to. They're going to be able to contain those receivers. But Miami, obviously having Carson back, I know a lot more about him than I should. But him playing for Georgia, but I just don't see the consistency. And that was the big knock on him with Georgia, is he would go out and throw for 300 yards, 3 touchdown passes, 0 picks. Next game, throw for 170 and two or 3 picks and a touchdown pass. He was actually, this is his second best season behind his sophomore year at Georgia. When we didn't go to the playoffs. That was a 4-team playoff. That was when Michigan won. That was his best season, but he's been great.
That's 23 then, huh?
Yeah. That was he had a heck of a season there. With Miami, I mean, obviously they got Mark Fletcher, they're back, they're running back. He's a good player, but I mean, all eyes are on Malachi Toney, Kadarius Toney's little brother. That dude is a straight stud. True freshman, actually, too.
Yeah, no, he's an absolute stud. I actually had, obviously I got to watch both of these teams this year. I would say...
Why did you get to watch both of them?
They just happened to be prime time facing the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Okay.
But I did get to watch both these teams this year, and I will say Texas A&M instills more fear in me than Miami did. And I know, obviously, going up against both these teams, they both beat the Irish. I would just say... Notre Dame lost on essentially a botched extra point against Texas A&M. Miami obviously got the better end of the Irish, but the big plays that Miami had in those games, it seemed like relatively fluky plays. Like there was a one-handed, not that it wasn't a great play in general, but one-handed catch in triple coverage for
heck of a catch.
It was an unbelievable catch, but you're not making that every week, And then there was a rollout by Carson Beck. Great throw, great catch. Defense was out of position, caught Notre Dame lacking, whatever. I like Texas A&M in this game. I like them by double digits, quite frankly, honestly. I'm going to pick A&M to cover and win pretty easily in this one.
Yeah, so we're all across the board, A&M. And
we're all Aggies.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, one last thing. A&M also actually has the number 1 ranked third down defense. So it's going to be, I mean, if Carson Beck doesn't get third and short, I mean, it's going to be tough for them to
I like A&M to rout the Hurricanes.
I agree with your, I'm not going that far. I agree with your Carson Beck point, though. He's just so peak and valley. He's not consistent.
I mean, look at him even throughout the season. I mean, you see games where
he looks like it should be a number 1 pick in the draft.
Yeah, and they would be up on teams, and next thing you know, it would be like, what happened? He just disappears, and I mean, it just teams come back, and I don't know. I just think Miami's too wishy-washy when it comes to their offense. I think A&M's gonna cover, and I mean, just Kyle Fields gonna get the best one.
I think so too.
All right, these next two, I don't think we have to spend as much time on.
Maybe talk about the spreads.
The first one, to be honest with you, I think Tulane might hang in there for a half. And
against the Rebels of Ole Miss?
I do. Against Lane Kiffin, the Lane
Kiffin-less.
I was going to say that. Lane Kiffin-less Rebels. Now, that's a 17.5 point spread. At,
widespread there.
Yeah, at in Oxford. I want to say it's Van Hemingway Stadium.
Okay.
I believe so, yeah.
So I'm going to say I think Tulane hangs around. I think Ole Miss wins. I don't think they cover.
So I originally was thinking that, but I do think Ole Miss is going to come out, just with all the drama that's been surrounding them these last 2-3 weeks. I think they're going to come out pretty fiery and blow the doors off of Tulane. I think Ole Miss is going to cover.
They did keep their offense. Charlie Weiss Jr.
Yes.
Yeah.
I pointed that out actually on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, Kevin, we understand his father used to be the coach at Notre Dame.
I didn't say it. You did.
So I think to be honest, but actually, I'm not sure if you guys knew this. This is actually a rematch. They actually faced in like week 3.
Yes, I actually did.
I did not know that this was a rematch.
And I think Ole Miss won. I think it was 45-10.
I'm going to look that up as you keep going.
I mean, you got Harrison Wallace on Ole Miss. You got
45-10 Ole Miss.
45-10 Ole Miss. So
don't challenge this guy in college football.
He's unbelievable.
He knows
Trinidad Chambliss is a stud.
I think he is too. The Ole Miss quarter, and he was a D2 guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was playing in the D2 national championship last year.
Yeah, I think he's unbelievable. I'll tell you, I watched their game against Florida, and Florida's not any good, right? Like, we know that DJ Lagway is like the worst.
He just entered the transfer portal, actually.
Yeah,
on top of that.
Yeah, he's going to try to go get a bag again. Florida paid him $4.5 million. They might as well have lit $4.5 million on fire. What a waste of money that was. That was his contract this year. That was a total waste. But anyway, I watched them, Ole Miss play Florida, and I was so impressed with the quarterback. And the running back's a stud, too. And his name's escaping me. You probably know it.
Keelan Lacey.
Yes, stud.
Yeah,
bona fide stud.
He's a heck of a player. I think he had like 1,200 yards rushing this year.
Yeah,
he's a stud. The tight end too that they have. I mean, I forget what was it. Evan Ingram that was there.
Yeah, Evan Ingram was.
I mean, they haven't utilized a tight end since Evan Ingram was there, and they utilized that tight end. They run him all over the field. He's an absolute stud. Their wide receiver 2, Deuce Alexander, absolute stud.
I saw that Charlie Weiss Jr. is coming back, and a couple other coaches are staying there too.
Yeah, I actually told Kevin this. You know who's actually on the Ole Miss coaching staff is Joe Judge.
I did know that because they were talking about him potentially being the interim for the playoff.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. I forgot.
And then that didn't work out, and they hired not Joe Judge but Pete
Golding,
yes.
not named Joe.
Yeah,
like you said
right.
Last episode.
I
was
did.
it last? Yeah.
No, I think me personally, I think with my rankings, I would have flip-flopped A&M and Ole Miss. I just think, I mean, I don't like to penalize Ole Miss a ton, but I think you got to give them a little bit of a down just because they don't have Lane Kiffin.
They believe in Pete Golden though. They didn't.
Yeah,
there is no
wasted
intern
no
tag
time.
there. None.
No,
that is a full-time job.
I think it's a 3-year deal too.
Yeah.
So I think to be honest, I'm with you guys. I think Ole Miss definitely does cover.
I went against that, but keep going.
I just think Tulane's not going to be able to not going to be able to keep up with them, and I just think the Ole Miss doesn't really have that great of a defense. They have, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his last name. It's Prince Will, and it's a bunch of letters. Their defensive lineman, he's a stud. But I just don't see Tulane being able to. And actually, it's funny. I was listening to Greg McElroy's podcast, and he just thinks with the NIL, I mean, there's just the talent difference is just getting spread out more and more and more.
We were talking about that last week too.
He was saying, he goes, it's just, I mean, it's just interesting. The G5s in here, you got 2 G5s in here. You might as well put Virginia in because, I mean, it's just going to get too wide of a spread, and Tulane might be able, like you said, they might be able to hang in the first half, but what happens when you get guys starting to get banged up?
Yeah.
No, you got Ole Miss's wide receiver 4 would be the wide receiver 1 on Tulane.
And this is also, I'm going to say that Tulane hangs in there for a half, and you guys are right. I'm gonna flip my opinion. I think Ole Miss does cover. This is also a huge prove-it game for Pete Golden. I know he got the full-term job, no interim tag, but like you do not want your first game running the program losing to a non-Power 5 in the.
It's fair.
Well, not to mention too. Also, you can only imagine one, that place is going to be rocking because it usually always does.
Oh, that's a good fan base.
And 2, you can only imagine that Lane Kiffin leaving just inspired them more to get that place even more
100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
I don't think, to your point, talent discrepancy in that, I don't think we got to spend much time on this next one. James Madison, I will say their tweets have been fire, though, about Oregon.
I haven't been following
Oh, my
it.
gosh. They've had some great tweets going into this matchup. But Dan Lanning, Dante Moore, and the rest of the Ducks, I think, will be quacking way too much for James Madison. I think Oregon covers easy.
Yeah, the spread's minus 21 in favor of the Ducks. They're favored by 3 touchdowns. Again, I don't see James Madison really putting up a fight, even from the get-go. Like you said, Jerome, you see Tulane hanging in with Ole Miss for a half. I could realistically see that. I could see Tulane down by a touchdown at halftime. I don't see this game being close at the end of the first quarter. I think Oregon has a 2-touchdown lead by the end of the first, and they just run away with it. Now, whether they're up by 35 points and then the backups come in and James Madison finally gets it to where they're covering, that's a different story. But I'm gonna pick the Ducks to cover the 21-point spread.
And also, I know, traveling this and that. I mean, James Madison's they're literally going across the country. I mean, they're in Virginia and they're going to the Pacific Northwest.
Right.
That's a hell of a trip.
I'm gonna actually disagree with you guys.
Oh,
I
wow.
think James Madison is gonna give him I think Oregon's gonna pull away late. But the big question is, I was actually talking to Kevin about this earlier. The big question is, DeCorian Moore, their wide receiver 1, and Gary Bryant Jr., the wide receiver 2, have not played in a while. So I don't know if this extra time will get them back. You also got Malik Benson, who stepped in as their wide receiver 1. Their running back tandem is unbelievable. Noah Whittington and Jordan Davison.
Yeah, it is.
I'm pretty sure they both have double-digit touchdowns on the year. I mean, it's unbelievable. Dante Moore is a heck of a player. Dan Lanning's a heck of a coach, former DC at Georgia.
Yep.
But I just think James Madison will hang in there for a little while because they do thrive off getting turnovers. Their defense has done that. The only thing that does worry me is they only did play one Power 4 school this year, and it was Louisville. And Louisville kind of won pretty convincingly. So, but Wayne Knight, he's the running back for James Madison. He's a heck of a player. The only thing that does worry me also about James Madison is their quarterback does not. He's a runner more than a passer, and it's kind of like maybe that'll shake up a look for Oregon. I'm not sure, but their defense is solid. I think I could see I think James Madison will keep the Oregon score a little low just because of the defense. So maybe like a 28-13
So you're taking
game.
James Madison to cover?
I think I'm going to take James Madison to cover. I think, to be honest with you, I think this could be one of those games where it comes right down to the wire if James Madison can go on the last drive to cover or not.
Right. Like
Okay.
a garbage time touchdown to, as Al Michaels always says, except those of a few of you out there who are paying attention, this is very important for you.
That stadium, though, Outson Stadium.
That's an atmosphere.
And actually, it only holds like 70,000.
Yeah, I believe 60. It's not a huge
It's not a big stadium.
But it is loud and it rocks. Real quick, I was just thinking about this just randomly. James Madison, it's got to be the best non-Power 4 basketball and football school around. I mean, they've gotten to the tournament the last couple of years. Now in football, they're relevant. Good for them.
Sure. Yeah.
Good for James Madison.
Must be fun to be a James Madison student, huh? Fun
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, sure.
The only thing is that, unfortunately for them, is 12 versus 5. I don't think runs the same in the college football playoff as it does in the March Madness
No,
tournament.
it does
Not at all. That's a good point.
All right. Well, anything else to say about college football?
I think we, talk about the paths of maybe the seeds 1 through 4. Obviously Indiana, they're going to have to come out in that second round of that college football playoff, and they're going to immediately have to go up against Oklahoma or Alabama. For what a draw for Indiana being the 1 seed. That's a tough first game to play.
Yeah, I think
going
it
up
is.
against Alabama, Oklahoma.
Hey, your buddy's got a lot to prove.
Yeah, he does. Fernando
Yeah, no, he
does.
does.
Yeah, he
Absolutely.
does.
I think to be honest with you, let's go back to last year. This is the same path that Oregon had last year, running into Ohio State in the second round.
Yeah.
I think it might not be as bad, but I mean it's a similar matchup. I just don't think, to be honest with you, I mean you look at last year, all 4 bye teams went 0-4 last year. I don't think that happens this year, but out of those 4 teams, I could definitely see. I could see Indiana and I could see Texas Tech both losing in the first round. I I don't know.
Texas Tech's immediately going to face Oregon, you would think, assuming that Oregon's going to beat James Madison. So, yeah, I would probably have Oregon favored in that game, too. I think Oregon would beat Texas Tech at a neutral site pretty handily, honestly.
I'm not sure about that. Texas Tech is I've been impressed with their offense is go, 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 go. I mean, they put up a boatload of points, and they don't stop either.
The Red Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, they do, and their defense is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Their defense is great.
Suddenly they play defense in the Big 12. They
Never used to be like that.
No, they didn't believe in it. If you weren't scoring 60, you weren't winning in the Big 12, all right?
Yeah, the over-unders in the Big 12 were automatic over.
These guys all play defense. They had like BYU, Arizona State, and I don't know, like Colorado, and they become a defensive conference. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I think that I just think with Texas Tech, there's some times where I look at that team and I'm kind of like, their offense just kind of, it doesn't really surprise me. And I think their defense gets a lot of turnovers, though. I mean, they force turnovers. They do everything well. I mean, you saw in the BYU game, they basically made it living hell for BYU.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, BYU's both losses came, when they had the big matchup against Texas Tech. And Texas Tech, those were their two biggest games of the year, and they routed the crap out of them.
They got blown out twice.
100%, yeah.
Jerome, quick question for you. Looking at Ohio State, I mean, obviously you guys, I think, have the closest game. I mean, who do you want to play and why?
Well, I think for the Buckeyes, and maybe I'm being a little bit arrogant here, I like where they sit right now, and I like their path either or. I think right now, I remember last year when they lost to Michigan, and then they beat the crap out of Tennessee. They beat the crap out of Oregon, and the Browns still thought it was a good idea to draft Dylan Gabriel. Never mind. And then they beat, Notre Dame, then they did play a close game against Texas, which Jack Sawyer had one of the most memorable plays in my Buckeye fandom lifetime. And then they played Notre Dame played them tough for a half and made it a good, decent game. So
Ohio State did lose to Oregon earlier that year, right?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I want to make sure about the Dylan Gabriel comment.
So I think, my personal fan opinion is if you treat the Indiana loss like that, then they'll come in motivated and they'll be able to. And I think right now, the way Ohio State has played this whole year, and they haven't had a greatly hard schedule. Their two toughest games were the Big Ten title game against Indiana, and then obviously the opener against Texas. With the Big Ten and the SEC being so big now, you as well know too, you don't play everybody every year, and they did get to bypass a lot of the upper echelon in the Big Ten. And so, if they treat that Big Ten title game like they treated that Michigan game last year, I expect them to come out fully motivated. And honestly, maybe I'm being a little too egotistical. If they don't win the national championship with the way that it's gone this year, I'll be disappointed or at least get there.
Well, yeah, sure. I think if you go into this as a top 2 seed of the college football playoff and you don't walk away with a national championship, I think, of course, you have every right to be upset or at least disappointed. Now, Landon, I do kind of want to counter your question to Jerome with the same exact question to you. You being a Georgia fan, you're looking at you're going to be facing Ole Miss or Tulane. Who would you rather have and why?
I mean, obviously, I would rather have Tulane,
right.
But I don't think that's going to happen.
Right. But how do you feel like you match up against Ole Miss going into round 2, assuming that that's who the Bulldogs will end up?
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I do like our matchup. We already have beaten them. Obviously, it is tough to beat a team twice. Kirby Smart has shown he's been able to do it, beating Texas twice, once in the regular season, once actually at Texas, and then once in the SEC championship last year. And actually, surprising fact, that is Texas only lost in their last 3 years at home. So
yeah.
So that's kind of cool. But I mean, obviously with Ole Miss, we faced them earlier in the year. It was an absolute shootout. Don't really realize that Georgia plays in shootouts. It just doesn't happen often, and most of the time we don't end up winning when it comes to a shootout. But I'll be honest with you, when we played Alabama, we played Ole Miss, we weren't playing our best football at all. I don't know what Glenn Schumann did to the defense, but the defense has been playing out of their mind. So, I mean, I like our odds playing against Ole Miss. I really do. It's been an unbelievable. I mean, we had 8 sacks as a team through the first 8 games, and I think we had like 9 or 10 sacks through the last 4 games. So, I mean, I'm not sure what's been going on. We do have some injuries. Our starting center, Drew Bobo, actually the offense coordinator's son, Mike Bobo, he is probably out for the year. He got an ankle injury. So
there's no chance even if you ran all the way.
I don't think so, because Kirby Smart, you know how in college, in interviews, they just say,
they don't.
They're horrible.
They don't tell you anything.
No, they don't tell you anything.
No.
And the injury report, literally, they'll be working out full, jumping up, catching balls, and next thing you know, they're inactive that day. And
it's like you know, that game that we had Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith out, nobody knew why.
Yeah.
Okay, they're hurt. Well, we don't really need them. We can win, but like, where are they at? What's going on here?
So I think with that, I think we do have some injuries. Colby Young, a transfer from Miami. He was awesome for us last year. Got caught in some legal issues that he actually did not get ruled at fault for, which was awesome. So he came back this year, and then he actually fractured his ankle, so he's out for the year. But that happened in like week 3, so we haven't had him. But we just got 2 players arrested, unfortunately.
Shoplifting.
I actually have some college football news that just broke. For your Notre Dame Fighting Irish, Jeremiah Love has decided to go pro officially.
Does not surprise me.
Does not surprise me either,
No.
but that just broke.
By the way, Notre
Figured I'd
Dame got
announce
an
it.
absolute steal. He was one of the lowest. Like, he was only paid $1.5 million. They should be lucky that he even came back this
Sorry
year.
to cut you off, Lando. Keep
No,
going.
it's fine. I just think we did have one of our offensive linemen and one of our freshman running backs, both freshmen, starting linemen, started 11 games in the year, and he got caught with shoplifting. So not a good look. Probably going to be suspended. I think he did get released on a $2,500 bail, so I can't imagine the shoplifting. I can't imagine he stole too much, but you steal. It doesn't matter how much it is. But I think with it, I mean, we got a strong defense. We weren't applying pressure at all, and we applied pressure. Basically, Ole Miss, how we beat them is basically it was a shootout. We were just going back and forth, and then we actually held them to, I think, like 17 yards in their last 3 drives. So that was basically the only reason we beat them. I think we ended up beating them by 14.
The only thing that scares me a little bit as a Buckeyes fan is, you know, we haven't played anybody in this thing. No, like I feel like everybody else has at least played
Semi-familiarity. I mean, you faced Indiana.
Yeah, that's true. In the Big Ten title.
I mean, which honestly, if you're going to pick one team to have faced, it might have been the number 1 seed in the entire playoffs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we said though, their path's not easy going to.
No, it's absolutely not. I don't think Ohio State ends up facing Indiana at any point.
Jerome, let me just tell you this real quick. Like my dad said, I was talking to him. He said he didn't really care if they lost in the Big Ten championship because that was the last game you can lose. As a fan of another team other than Ohio State, I will sit here and say you never want to face Ohio State after a loss. I would like to go back and see when the last time they lost 2 consecutive games is, because it's probably not anytime recent. But, I mean, look at last year. They lost Michigan and literally did not play in the Big Ten championship and destroyed Tennessee in round 1.
Very well might have been 2000.
Mel Tucker.
Yeah, Mel Tucker. Good Lord.
Mel Kiper.
It very well might have been 2011, the Luke Fickell season. It very well might have been that year.
And I just think when you look at it, I mean, you guys have, I think depth-wise, I think Alabama has better receivers, but I think 1-2,
there's no better tandem in the
1-2. It's not even close.
100%.
And I think Brandon,
one's the best receiver in college football. The other one's going to be a top 5 pick in the draft.
I think Brandon Ennis.
Like seriously,
I think Brandon Ennis is a pretty damn good third receiver too.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. You know? I think I give the edge to Alabama because they basically got like
3 pros.
I mean, they basically got 3 Carnell Tates.
Right.
But I mean, but I think, I just think your guys' defense is unbelievable. Matt Patricia's throwing stuff at quarterbacks that they've never seen before.
That's the thing. They run a pro-style defense. And, you know, and that's where I do give Mendoza a little bit of credit. Music to Kevin's ears. He handled that pressure okay for the most part.
He did. He still only scored 13 points. But again, you go up against that team.
More than 13 on the Buckeye. That defense is incredible.
Sure, no, the defense is incredible. Absolutely. It's not like he went crazy on the Buckeyes. But hey, listen, he outplayed Say in that game, and ended up winning the Big Ten championship. So yeah, credit where credit's due.
I just think when it comes down to it, I just think you're probably going to have to score 20 plus against Ohio State.
I agree.
I think Ohio State is giving up like 8.6 points per game right now, which is the best in college football.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be tough to beat that. I mean, it's going to be tough to score 20 plus. I mean, they thrive off. I mean, they're up 48-3, and they thrive off still not giving up a touchdown.
Right.
I mean, it reminds me of the defenses Georgia had in 21 and 22 because it was the exact same way.
That Georgia defense, they produced NFL players like it was going out of style.
Yeah, and I just think at the end of the day, I just think with needing a national championship, you need a quarterback that can be accurate. You need playmakers. You need a heck of a defense. And when I look at it with Ohio State, I mean, they've got everything. I just think they always.
Ingredients.
I think Ohio State's the total package. I said this last week or even 2 weeks ago. They are hands down I know they're coming off a loss to the number one team in the country right now. They are without a doubt the most complete team in college football, in my opinion. Your quarterback was a Heisman finalist. You've got a great backfield. You have the best wide receiver tandem in college football. Like I said earlier, best wide receiver in college football, and the other one's going to be a top 5, top 10 pick at worst, probably. You got a great offensive line, great defensive line. They win in the trenches. They always have good linebacker play, and their secondary's second to none in college football, year in and year out. I don't see a team beating Ohio State in this playoffs. It's no shot at the Dogs, no shot at the Hoosiers, no shot at anybody in this college football playoff. It's just I think Ohio State's a tier above everybody else in my opinion.
And what I pointed out on the podcast last week, Landon, and you weren't here, obviously, is that what I like so far is no moments seem too big for Julian Sayin as even a redshirt freshman. He seems to handle everything with grace and delivers,
Well, even the first game of the year, I happened to be in Boston at the time, but we watched the Ohio State-Texas game, and if you remember, Jeremiah Smith had a couple early drops in that game in the first quarter.
Everybody was freaking.
Everybody was freaking out, but dude, Julian Sayin was spot on just about every single throw, and that was his first career start. And was that game... That was in Ohio State,
that was
correct?
At the shoe,
yeah. But still, you were facing, at the time, they ended up not being that or even making the playoff, but at the time, that was the number one team in the country that was coming into your place, and you're throwing dot after dot after dot. Whether or not the receivers are catching it or not, and I think even a tight end dropped a big first down in that first quarter.
Max Clare from Purdue.
Yeah, like he dropped a big first down. I believe it was on a third down, and Ohio State had to punt. And I remember I texted you. I was like, dude, this freshman is throwing all over the field right now, and he held that up throughout for the remainder of the year. Like Julian Sayin is without a doubt a top 3. I mean, I'll say top 5, but he's a top 5 quarterback in college football already after 1 year.
I also, I agree with the freshman, and Bo Jackson seems to get better and better and better, and
unbelievable.
I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. And going back to Julian Sayin, you also do have to remember Julian Sayin was actually a Nick Saban recruit.
Yes, he was.
And I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
So Nick Saban,
I did know that.
So I think it's you have 30 days after. So Michigan's going through it right now. You have 30 days after if your head coach gets fired or retires, you have 30 days. Even if you signed your letter of intent. You have 30 days to transfer. Well, Nick Saban announced, Julian Sayin basically released his letter of intent and then ended up choosing Ohio State. So, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. If he's a recruit of Nick Saban, I'm completely fine with getting him on my team.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. So, obviously, I told you guys who I'm picking. Who do each of you have in terms of who do you think is going to win it all this year?
I think the Scarlet and Gray are going to do it.
You want my homer pick or my real pick?
I want both.
So obviously, I would love for Georgia to do it. I just don't really see us having enough playmakers to get over the hump of Ohio State. I see them matching up. I was actually at the last matchup.
Oh, that was a hell of a matchup.
Ended up in our favor. But I just don't see I just don't see us having enough pieces to get over it. The one thing that has bothered me all season about Georgia is it seems like our DBs play 15 yards off the ball. And sometimes we do get slashed in the pass game. And the problem is if you play Ohio State and then you start playing up, they're either going to take one over the top or they're just basically going to run it up the middle on you. But now, nice thing for Georgia is we do have one of the best run defenses in college football, but so does Ohio State. Georgia thrives off running the football. We can't run if we can't run the football. We got to rely on Gunner. Gunner's been great, but it's
I think he's been okay. He's had his ups and downs.
He was number 7 in Heisman voting.
Yeah.
He's definitely been great. He's definitely been an offseason has definitely changed. And in my opinion, I think he's been a lot better than Carson Beck. It opens up our playbook with him being able to run the football. We haven't had a running quarterback probably since DJ Shockley. So
wow, that's a throwback.
Wow. Yeah, so we don't really have running quarterbacks. I mean, it's so. I mean, I just don't know. We don't really have. We have Zachariah Branch, who's very, very quick. But I don't know if we have the playmakers on offense to get past Ohio State. I think you would probably have to play a perfect game to beat Ohio State. And that's exactly what Indiana did. I just don't see Indiana playing a perfect game. I think that was probably they match up. Ohio State wins 7 out of 10 times. I think they just caught them on one of the 3 times.
Yeah, I would even say maybe 8 out of 10 to be honest
Yeah.
with you. Like I do think
9.
you think that was a one of.
I do.
Okay. All right.
And then going back to, I will say, just switching gears real quick, the only thing I don't like about Heisman is
that Jeremiah Love didn't win it.
That's not where I was going with this. But the only thing I don't like about the Heisman is props to Fernando Mendoza. I'm not taking anything away from him. But the only thing I don't like is if you go back and look at some of their box scores, they have Fernando Mendoza in there in the third quarter with 6 minutes left, and they're up 48-3.
Right.
And he's still throwing touchdown passes.
And he's got like 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like
Yeah.
some of the times he's not doing a ton in those games. And they're dominating.
And he's still throwing touchdown passes. And it's like Paul, is it Signetti?
Yeah,
Kurt
Signetti.
Kurt Signetti. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're going to get one. He's taking some serious hits this year. That hit against Ohio State from Caden Curry, he absolutely got.
Was that the first play from scrimmage?
That was the first play of the game.
I remember
He absolutely got leveled. So I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're going to get. I mean, learn from Dan Quinn with Jane Daniels.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get players hurt, and it's like, I get it, but like at the end of the day, like not to. I'm sure there's way more teams that do this, but obviously I watch every single second of Georgia football. We're beating Charlotte 38-3 in the third quarter, and there's 10 minutes left, and Ryan Puglisi comes out there for quarterback. We sit Gunner Stockton. And it's like, well, of course you're never going to win a Heisman if you're not in it. But I know you still got to make the throws. You still got to do everything.
Right.
But, I mean,
Ohio State did that too. They put Lincoln Keyholtz in, when things got out of hand.
Yeah. I just don't see Indiana. I mean, the funny thing is all 4 of these teams that have a bye have unbelievable defenses. I mean, all their defenses are unbelievable. But I just think I just don't see the offense with Indiana just to consistently there's too many loopholes with it. I mean, they played a close game against Penn State. That guy had an absolute amazing catch in the back of the end zone.
Penn State stunk too.
Yeah, and Penn State stunk. They were horrible, and it's like I don't know. I don't want to sound like an Indiana hater, but I'm not buying the hype as a number 1 seed.
Well, who do you think is going to be the first of the 4 to go down of the bye weeks? The Hoosiers, Buckeyes, Bulldogs, or Red Raiders?
So you got Indiana facing either Alabama or Oklahoma. I think that's a very, very, very tough draw.
I think Indiana beats Oklahoma, but I think they lose to Alabama.
I agree. I just don't see their secondary being able to contain basically probably the 2 best wide receiver groups in college football. Two games in a row. So if they get Alabama, I agree with you. I don't think they go over the hump. Texas Tech, they
would face Oregon most likely.
Yeah, and I like Oregon. The problem is the thing that I don't like about this is, sorry to go on a tangent here, but the thing I don't like about this is if you get a bye, you have to play at a neutral site. Like, I would love for Georgia to host a home game in Sanford Stadium, but it's like we've gotten a bye the last 2 years.
I'd love to beat the Brinks off of A&M or Miami at the Shoe. Not going to happen.
Yeah, no, it's not.
So
Beat the brinks off the Volunteers last year at the shoe, though.
we did.
Coming off a loss, that's why I feel bad. Whoever faces
That's right. He's right.
whoever faces Ohio State, they got a target on their back.
Yeah, that's straight. Back-to-back losses don't happen in Columbus, Ohio. All right. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Landon,
What do you
thanks
think?
so much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you
Yeah,
being
dude.
Thanks
here.
for having me
Offering
on.
all your
Yeah,
college,
thank you.
Yeah,
We're
college
so glad
football.
to finally have you on, man. Seriously.
college football insight. I mean,
The best in the business, this guy.
Yeah,
he is.
he knows his stuff.
The guy in
man.
the Stetson Bennett jersey.
He knows his stuff.
That's right.
Stetson
Go
Bennett the
Dogs.
fourth.
So you can follow us on social medias at CLE Sports Realm. Kevin, what are the social medias?
It's going to be on TikTok, Instagram, and X or Twitter. And then obviously you can follow us to listen to us or watch us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's it. Thanks, Derek, behind the glass.
As
Landon,
always.
thank you for being here. We'll talk to you next week on the Cleveland Sports Realm. Have a great night.
Go Browns.